Today, we will be discussing one of the major fallacies that we encounter in our daily lives, red herring.
What is the definition of red herring? Well, red herring is when you are diverting attention to a new issue so that the audience will completely lose track of what the original issue was. There are many ways in which red herring can be implemented in, one of which is literature. Red herring is prevalent when it comes to detective and thriller stories. This is since this fallacy throws off readers and continuously lead the audience into creating false conclusions. An example is a popular novel called The Final Problem. This is where Dr. Watson was given a message that an English woman was urgently needing an English doctor. Dr. Watson ran to the hotel where he found out it was a setup. This is a red herring to distract Dr. Watson from what was really going on, which was the kidnapping of his partner, Sherlock Holmes. Another way in which red herring is prevalent is in politics. Not surprising that in politics, politicians would use red herring to divert the conversation to another issue rather than the one that's being presented to them. An example is a presidential debate between Mitt Romney versus Obama on gun control. Mitt Romney diverted the question of gun control from laws to family values and better schools. Trying to make schools or families better isn't alternatives to what is being discussed, nor the problems people were facing at the moment. You could also state that politicians would actually answer the question, but also divert this discussion to a different particular discussion, just so you can get out of the recent discussion to a new discussion. Another way in which red herrings are implemented is in commercials. Companies often use this fallacy as a technique to intrigue new customers into buying their products. One way is to create humor and laughter into commercials rather than state facts. By distracting the audience while making them entertained, they will remember what happens in the commercial with the product than facts themselves. In this commercial, when the actor is persuading the audience about the product, there are multiple scenes that are irrelevant and makes it hard for the audience to, 1, understand the product, and 2, understand whether the product is good for them. For instance, there isn't a reason where the actor is on one scene standing on his feet with a clamshell and tickets, while the next scene he is on a horse in which it randomly appears. Another instance is in a scene where he is randomly on a boat next to an island in which in the last scene he was in his own bathroom. Now it's time for the fact of the day. How this fallacy got its name was by the color of the fish. The fish was usually silver, however, once a person cooks the fish, it becomes red and stinky. There's a couple of old tales where the fish was useful, one of which was for newborn pups. The pups were being trained to learn how to follow trails with different smells, including the fish. The fish was a distraction at first, however, the dogs would later on know how to sniff a fox's trail. In other tales, the stinky fish were actually trained on horses rather than dogs on trips. This happened so the horses could stay on track with the dogs. Unfortunately, there isn't a specific way to stop red herring from happening because, after all, we're human. As humans, we use fallacies, in particular red herring, to try to divert problems we don't want and convert them into new situations that benefit us while persuading others to do something with distractions. In spite of that, what we can do is when you know someone is using a red herring, tell them politely that they are using an unqualified argument, and if you can, rephrase the argument or question. If you are stuck in a situation where you don't have an answer, rather than divert the discussion, simply state that you don't have an answer to the question. It would be beneficial for the audience and yourself to state the truth. As for commercials, if you want to entertain the audience, it's fine as long as you actually talk about the product rather than give assumptions or distractions on what the product can do.